I had been laying low, but I still needed to get to the bottom of this treacherous case, or my name wasn't Frankelfurt Drebenwolf. So, I ditched my usual hat, vest, tie, and coat in order to be able to get around without sticking out like a sore thumb. Went by the old guardhouse, had to find out why somebody wanted my partner dead, and who could afford to send that many men after him to make sure the job was done. After digging around, I ran into an old scholar who knew me from my days in the guard. Said I needed to look to fingerprints. Said, I don't know, I didn't know you knew I felt that way about the prints, but I think it was just better to look at the evidence today. And what I'd found shook me to my very core. This case was going to take every last talent I had at my disposal. Hello there, everyone, and welcome back down here to the Gamer's Den with me, your host, Jordan, your master of lore and storyteller extraordinaire, here to go on to our next part of the first edition Pathfinder Investigator Guide. Today, we are going to be taking a look at their talents. This is a whole suite and array of abilities that you are able to select over the course of your adventuring career as you level up, starting at 3rd level and coming in every 2 levels after that, capping out at level 19. But, oh goodness, there are so many to select from, and you are not going to be left without incredible choices at your disposal. But before we get into all of that, if you're new here to the channel, go on down there, hit the subscribe button, and become a regular member here at the Gamer's Den. Or if you've already gone on ahead and listed yourself on such an incredible roster of legendary heroes, then go on down to hit the like button and share the video far and wide. But now, let's start talking about the talents, and one thing that should be noted here, you do have a whole lot of incredible choices, you have a lot of good choices, and then you have, a fair number that are okay. There aren't too terribly many that are absolutely awful choices, but there are still some, and a lot of them can be found, surprisingly, over in the rogue talents. Well, I say surprisingly, it just feels surprising to me because rogue is just one of those classics for Dungeons & Dragons that goes back so long, but clearly there are so many classes that just now outperform the rogue at what they are supposed to be great at. But that analysis aside, regarding the rogue, the investigator, you're still going to want to make smart selections for your talents, and part of that is going to depend on your party composition, because there are some talents that will really boost your abilities with different selections of skills, and depending on who your character is partnered up with, what other classes you're working with, that may help to dictate or help you determine which talents you want to select. Ultimately, if you should still be building the character you want to build to be great at the skills that you want them to be good at, but you are enough of a skill monkey, and also with the different inspiration bonuses you can be layering on top of the huge array of skill checks that you have and the skill points that you get with your significant intelligence score, you're going to have the flexibility to lean into different areas to help fill the gaps overall. But, again, just kind of pair everything up with your party, work things out ahead of time, and just kind of plan things out going forwards, because maybe your party has enough skills available that you should be leaning more into a combat direction. Maybe combat's covered well enough that you want to lean more into your extracts and become more of a support character, leaning into your version of spell slots. All of those things are definitely possible and viable with the investigator, and will still mesh nicely overall with the array of class abilities that you have as well. You have a pretty good selection with some good synergies, and the investigator talents help to capitalize on that pretty well. That said, let's go over our selection here. Just understand, this is not the hard and fast, most optimal, you need to select this in this exact order kind of a thing. This is just some that seem to make sense to me in this order as presented, but again, this is all subject to change depending on what you want to build and what your party's composition is, because it just depends on what the party immediately needs. So talk with your party, talk with your DM, but with that said, let's get into it. So for our 3rd level selection, we are going to pick up Quick Study. Use Studied Combat as a swift action instead of a move action. Now, Studied Combat does not kick in till level 4, but getting it just a level ahead is not going to be that big of a detriment. However, this could be easily swapped around for your level 5 selection, and you can throw something else in there. Something like Infusion, which we have listed here at level 5. Extracts can now be used by others and occupy a daily spell slot until used. Or in this case, just read formula slot, your extracts, your daily limit for the number of your spells that you're able to make use of. That last part is in red there because it was pointed out that technically your extracts could be stolen, and if they're stolen, well, that's gone until somebody makes use of it or the extract is dispelled. But that's a relatively rare occurrence. I've been doing this for a long time, and I've had alchemists before in my campaigns, and it never really once occurred to me to rob somebody of their extracts that were prepared with infusion. So just something to bear in mind, but overall infusion is still going to be useful because this makes you a much more competent and viable support member of the party. At level 7, you're going to pick up Expanded Inspiration. Consume no inspiration points on trained diplomacy, heal, perception, profession, and sense motive skill checks. Just perception alone makes this pretty damn worthwhile because perception's the most rolled skill in the game. It's a class ability for you, and being able to freely throw an inspiration check on top of that to get that extra d6 in there is going to be a very massive boon to you and your party. But then you're adding in incredible face skills like diplomacy and sense motive on top of it, which diplomacy, this helps to overcome the possible penalties that you could be taking from charisma, and then also sense motive. We don't have an incredible wisdom score providing bonuses there, so that will help out quite a bit. And then healing, if you're in a low magic campaign, having a boost to your heal skill is going to be incredibly invaluable. But even in a regularly magic suffused campaign, that's still not going to hurt anything. And profession, while technically from a gameplay, mechanics and rules and mathematics perspective, it's not a fairly important skill, it is great for roleplay. It is great for that added sense of developing who your character is outside of being an adventurer, outside of being an investigator, although that being an investigator could be fundamentally tied to that if you are providing your services to the community at large, but that's not really the daily regular adventuring that you're doing during your gaming sessions. So it's a good fill the gaps kind of a skill. And having a bonus to that certainly doesn't hurt, not when it's in the mix of so many other great skills. Going on from there to level 9, we have Combat Inspiration. Spend 1 inspiration point on saves or attack rolls instead of 2. So your inspiration pool is already a fair bit limited. Getting extra mileage out of it where you can is going to be incredible. Now, spending inspiration on attack rolls may not be necessary, especially not by level 9 when you have studied combat. Applying half your class level as a bonus to attack rolls and damage rolls, that's probably going to be more than sufficient. Where this is really nice is for your saves. That's going to be huge right there and will massively save you a lot of trouble in the long run, no pun intended there. Then at level 11, we're going to pick up Sapping Offense. Studied target damaged by Investigator can't make attacks of opportunity for 1 round. Now that 1 round duration's not incredible, but it's the fact that there's no save listed for this. And reducing a target's ability to make attacks of opportunity is going to be great because by level 11, you are going to be facing opponents that are large size, possibly larger, wielding pole arms. Maybe they have multiple attacks of opportunity paired up with that. Being able to eliminate their ability to make attacks of opportunity is going to allow for greater party positioning on the battlefield. So this is going to be massively useful. Honestly, this is something that I believe you could take a little bit sooner. I believe you can pick this out at level 7 if I'm remembering right. So again, this is a situation where you could probably swap this around a little bit if you really wanted to. But again, it all just kind of depends. For our level 13 selection, we are picking up Tenacious Inspiration. Roll Inspiration twice and take the higher result. this will boost your average result, because on a d6 you're rolling about an average of 3.5, so somewhere between 3 and 4. So being able to roll twice lets you boost that average up just a little bit there. That's a great grab, but it pairs nicely with our next selection of amazing inspiration. Inspiration die increases to d8s. Now that by itself is only a boost of about 1 point there. So you go from 3.5 to 4.5, give or take, 4 to 5 there. And then being able to roll twice and take the better result on a d8, well, that boosts your average overall a fair bit higher as well. That's great to have. Adding in a regular 5, 5 to 6 on any check that you're making, that's nothing to sneeze at all. That's a significant difference between success and defeat right there. Then at level 17, we're going to grab Eternal Potion, another one of the Alchemist discoveries that you're able to snap up for yourself. A potion drank by the Investigator has its duration extended to permanent until a new potion is chosen. Now, potions have to be 3rd level spells or lower. And they cannot target just you personally. They have to have been spells that would be allowed to target yourself or other targets, target creature touch, for example. So that does impose some limitations, but that still leaves you an incredible number of different spells like displacement or haste. Having haste or displacement permanently on you, that's a significant benefit. That's a huge advantage to have in place. And it's only until a new potion is chosen. So even if the effect were to end up removed in some fashion, you just have to down another potion. So you don't have to constantly burn your money on potions, on different kinds of potions like displacement and haste being the examples used before. Mirror image would be nice, but that is a personal effect, so it can't be made into a potion to begin with. So again, Eternal Potion, absolutely a fantastic grab. It just is a shame that you can't take it sooner. I believe it's restricted to level 17. Oh gosh, I hope it wasn't level 19. I'm pretty sure level 17. I'll try to remember to double check and edit this out before we go out. I probably forgot. But anyways, at level 19, we're going to pick up Greater Combat Inspiration. Choose a single weapon type, so as an example out of your proficiencies, sword, cane, rapier, etc. As long as you have 1 inspiration point, you don't need to spend a use of inspiration on attacks with the weapon of the chosen type. So you can keep adding inspiration dice to the weapon attack rolls without spending inspiration points. That's, again, huge, because remember, you're bumping up to about what did I say, right around an average of 5 to 6 on the results with rolling d8s and rolling twice to take the better result. That makes you hugely accurate, and not add in on top of that you're probably having studied combat in place, so you're getting half your character level added to this. So at level 19, you're looking at a +9 bonus to your attack, +9 bonus to damage, and then you're adding in, another 5 to 6 points to the attack roll. You're going to be hitting most of your targets pretty damn reliably. You're going to be an insanely accurate attacker, and you're going to have some nice damage boosts on top of it. Just bear in mind, studied combat, that bonus damage is precision damage, so it doesn't get multiplied on a crit. That's really the only downside to it, and it is a significant one, but man, you are going to be landing most of your attacks, even your lower attack bonus iterative attacks. Those are going to get boosted up high enough that you're going to be more reliably hitting with those against your studied target. And we're really only getting started here, because that's just what you're able to select within that range of levels that you get access to. There's still other great talents like Prolonged Study. Studied Combat lasts a number of rounds equal to twice your intelligence modifier. So if you never increase your studied combat, your intelligence modifier, you're still sitting at a +3 bonus from a 16 intelligence. You're now up to 6 rounds for studied combat lasting. That's 6 rounds of, well, again, if you're level 19, a +9 bonus to attack and damage. That's amazing. Then Underworld Inspiration. Use Inspiration on Trained Bluff, Disable Device, Disguise, Intimidate, or Sleight of Hand skill checks without having to spend an Inspiration point out of your Inspiration pool. So again, this is just another example of, depending on what your party is skilled at, you can swap around some of your different talents to emphasize different skills. And Disable Device and Sleight of Hand, very useful. Intimidate definitely can be useful as a social interaction skill to extract information or demoralize opponents. Definitely useful. Disguise, well, you have magic items to help with this, you have magical effects to help with this, but if for some reason you don't have access to any of that, well, boom, now you've got a significant bonus to your disguise skill that overcomes the penalty to charisma you're probably carrying if you're following this guide or a lot of the other general guides out there. And then another one out of the Alchemist discoveries, combine extracts. Put 2 formula into 1 extract. Takes 2 levels higher than the highest level combined extract. So if you combine a level 2 and a level 4 extract, it's going to take a level 6 slot. Probably the highest level slot that you have access to. But even still, that's a pretty significant benefit right there as well. It is taking up a higher level extract slot away, but you're getting 2 effects going at the same time, either on yourself or your allies. That's definitely going to be a huge advantage for you to make use of if you wanted to lean in more into making use of your extracts. But now, just so you have some ideas of what to avoid, here are some investigator talents that are just not worth the time. Like, unless you really, really, really want to pick these up because they fit your character and your build, even then, I'd still recommend reconsidering. But still, here we go. Unconventional Inspiration. Select 1 skill. Add inspiration checks without expending an inspiration point on it. That's terrible. You have a good intelligence score, you have a huge number of skill points to spend, and you have a huge number of skills that you're able to invest those points into. And not only that, but you have investigator talents that already affect multiple skills to do the same thing. And they're already some fairly important skills all the way around. Maybe not every single last one out of every single talent that you could select is going to be useful or valuable from a mechanical standpoint like the profession skill, but even still, you're better off picking out something that is going to give you multiple skills that you don't have to spend inspiration points on. And even then, you have so many other skills. So skip this. This is flat out terrible. Then we have minor and major magic. These are out of the rogue talents. Cast 0 and or first level spells from the wizard spell list. You have extracts. You already have extracts. What is this even doing listed in your investigator talents? Again, if it's something you really want to have because you feel like it really fits your character, yeah, then do that. Do that. But just bear in mind, you are potentially crippling your character, especially when you have even okay choices that really, really outclass this, for the simple fact that you already have extracts, some of which are probably going to duplicate some of the effects that you could possibly select. And then lastly, we have timed strike, more of a combat talent you could pick up. When making a studied strike, deal on 1 extra point of damage for each extra consecutive round you studied a target with studied combat. You can see where this is terrible. It's 1 extra point of damage, and bear in mind, that's precision damage. It doesn't get multiplied on a critical hit. If it got multiplied on a critical hit by not being precision damage, then you might be working with something here. Still not something incredible, but still much, much better for the chance at maybe getting some extra damage that is multiplied. But, oh, and then you're spending multiple rounds studying the target? Wait, I mean, if your DM lets you study the target outside of combat, then maybe this gets to be a little bit more useful, but I don't think that really flies with this one. So even then, what a terrible ability, especially in comparison to so many of the other talents you could be picking up to really make your character shine. But what do you think? Go on down to the comments below and let me know your thoughts. Did you like today's video? Did you dislike it? I have barely scratched the surface with the number of talents that you could play around with, and certainly certain builds might make some okay-ish talents actually shine really nicely overall. We haven't covered everything that's in here, just a decent number, and these should give you an idea of the different kinds of things that you can do and how you can mix and match to meet your needs and your party's needs at large. So let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. Hit those like or dislike buttons, and remember, if you made it this far, you must have enjoyed yourself at least a little bit or have been intrigued by what we're going over here. So why not go down there, hit the subscribe button, and become a regular member here at the Gamers Den. But with all that said, I've been your host, Jordan, your master of lore and storyteller extraordinaire. Thank you all so very much for your time, and you all have yourselves a good night.